Marie Rose, you can call her Rose, comes down from Haines, Alaska. We talked her into it last year and talked her into it again this year. Up there she is working on some, buying troll caught fish, do some trolling herself and working on direct marketing there. And so thanks for coming down again all the way from Haines. That's a long trip.
Hello, everyone. If I look a little nervous, it's because I've been in Haines all winter, and I don't remember the last time I've been around a crowd this big. But speaking of, my first poem is about the feeling of being home after taking a trip. And for me, the feeling of being home really, I guess it's captured in a salmon dinner. So I guess that doesn't surprise most of you, but this is called Tonight's Dinner. I cut open the package and slide a piece of coho salmon into my hands, holding it firmly in my right palm. After traveling for several weeks, I am confident that this exact moment defines what it means to be home. Closing my eyes, I imagine salmon traveling from rivers to ocean and back again. How special it is that they too know when they are home. I imagine the rivers are my own veins, the ocean, my heart, my skin a safeguard with knuckles as a boulder through every dam in their path. I'm pretty sure my boyfriend is wondering why I'm staring at a piece of fish. The oven is preheated and the seasonings are ready to go. But I still take my time. This salmon is the last of what is still wild on this exhausted planet. And I don't ever want to forget what it feels like to hold the ocean silver in my hands. So on that same note of traveling, I think one of the most terrifying things for me is just being around so many loud noises all the time. I had taken a trip last winter to Chicago, and the friend that I was staying with had told me or recommended that I turn on this noise machine next to the bed, and that would help me sleep. And so this one is called white noise. A white noise machine is plugged into the wall beside the bed. It will help you sleep, I am told. Instead, it wakes me up in a panic, threading chaos into my previously pastel-painted dreams. Where we live, the wind is not manufactured. Rain dances on the metal roof that amplifies our climate like a speaker outside our window. If I have learned anything in my short 26 years of life, it is that I cannot live where nature is mimicked. I cannot sleep where sounds are plugged in. And as many of you know, one of the really hard parts about taking off for a season is saying goodbye to loved ones. This one is called Goodbye for the Season. The floors have been swept, the dishes dried and put away, the refrigerator is empty, the freezer still with the company of a few pounds of fish. I will miss our home, the coziness of our bed, and the freedom to move around on steady ground. Your wood shop will be replaced by an aluminum skiff, my morning poetry replaced with weather forecasts and seaplane schedules. It will be far from glamorous, but it will make our hearts rich to leave for another season, to spend another summer with the salmon. I am from Michigan originally, but I first moved to Alaska to work on the No Pebble Mine campaign in Anchorage. And I feel like that experience has really rooted my entire life in Alaska, in helping me to understand the value of salmon, not only in Alaska, but really globally. I try again and again for years to sit down and write poems about how I feel about these proposed mines and their impact, potential impact to salmon in Alaska, and as well as climate change. And honestly, they end up being such long, aggressive poems that I have yet to really find one that I feel comfortable reading out loud. But this is kind of a shortened poem, and it kind of sums up how I feel about it. This is called This Could Be Our Future. They leach toxins into the river, separate the bones from our skin. Salmon sink, bellies heavy with arsenic. Tumors grow like black mold on everything we used to hunt. The cupboard is stocked with copper and gold, but we are starving. It's gonna go lighter from there, I promise. But as well as the connection that I feel like I continue to grow with salmon, I feel like salmon allow me to connect with a lot of other things in my life. And one of those things is connecting with the forest. I spend a lot of time, especially this time of year, walking around in the woods and enjoying having my feet on the ground. And I think a lot while I'm in the woods about all the ways that salmon nurture the forest, especially in Southeast Alaska. And it also makes me reflect a lot about what is and what was. This poem is called Trail of Time. I leave my words in the forest, nestled in the bark of a birch tree that peels like the wallpaper of my grandmother's kitchen. One foot in front of the other on a treadmill of dirt and rocks, turned pink carpet, a cot on the floor where I slept before every Easter egg hunt and 2 funerals. I can't tell if it is the sky or my eyes weeping when I smell my grandfather and a stick of double mint gum. It's like all of a sudden I am a cherry rose inlay that spins around and around the way it always did on the Lazy Susan in the center of our kitchen table. I wonder, does the forest mourn what came before them? Does it remember all the moments swallowed by minutes, months, years, the way that I do, skipping a decade back in time beneath the canopy of their branches? Or is it just me? I spend a great deal of my time as co-owner of a direct marketing business, meeting with folks in the lower 48 and working to market our product in different stores and different venues. And I continuously run into this issue or this conflict of people really having strong misconceptions of farmed salmon. And it's something that I'm continually trying to figure out how to handle, but I wish all the time that I had a way when I'm talking to folks in the lower 48 for them to really see what our lives look like in Alaska, especially on the water when we're out fishing. So this is kind of what this poem is about. It's called Where Wild Salmon Come From. When the man behind the seafood counter tells me his customers prefer farmed salmon because people want to know what their fish are eating nowadays, it takes everything in me to prevent myself from having a meltdown in front of an audience of dead fish and the customer behind me. The slab of farmed salmon looks enormous next to our wild, troll-caught coho fillet, but their thick stripes of fat don't fool me. I know it lacks authenticity. It has no story of traveling to the coast, no scars from battles with larger predators. It would never be tough enough to hang, yet alone feed itself in the wild up in Alaska. It is downright confusing to live in a time in which any consumer prefers a fish that did not come from a fisherman, but especially when I have seen their hands, and at times they have been my own, pruning under wet, cold rubber gloves. Even the best gear can't prevent water from finding its way down our sleeves on days that it rains sideways, And there are many of those. You just don't see them from the air-conditioned specialty food store in a state that has never tasted the salt of the coast on its tongue. I dream of goggles into my own mind so that maybe you could see where wild salmon come from. So you could hear the stories of fishermen who battle the same stormy seas that have already claimed the lives of friends and familiar names. I want you to hear sea lions fighting over jumping dinners, wind whipping loose lines across the deck, carrying clouds from mountaintops. I want you to smell the contrast of diesel fumes and fresh ocean air. I want you to feel the force of a coho on the line, to feel the burn of freezing fingers dancing in the iced bellies of a dark hold. That is where wild salmon come from. And I'm going to end my performance with this last poem. This is about all the ways that the ocean has taught me to be an introvert in the very best ways. This one is called Water Moves. I used to watch the waves crawl towards me, but now I notice the ways they push me forward, fast but not jagged, a trampoline beneath my feet that reminds me to move with it, as if gripping the air for balance was the only way I ever knew how to stand upright. I am quiet on a boat, but my mind moves like the timing belt of an engine inside my own head, illuminating images of what I want my life to look like, a dreamlike reflection of what is on the horizon, always easier to see with a little momentum at my back. The word place is written a dozen times on the inside of my eyelids. Every blink, it is there, shouting at me in the dark with my knees bent, sinking into movement as if preparing to jump in a halted elevator, the way my brothers and I always did when we were kids. Maybe that's why the ocean feels strangely familiar, igniting anticipation that pulls me like a magnet into this place where my mind can run like a broken faucet with a steady stream of words waiting to be hauled aboard. Thank you.